Is this the dumbest police captain ever? The title of this post says, well, he did say no matter what it was. You see, I worked as a dispatcher for a small town police department out west. There was always a bit of a struggle with our patrol sergeant, who always looked down at dispatch, always trying to micromanage our department and bullying our dispatcher sergeant. One day, he discovered that dispatchers were handling small routine matters, such as answering questions from the public and handling other minor issues that didn't require a police response. So when he found out, he was outraged. He stomped around the station for a bit, then he issued a memo. It began with a condescending essay about how dispatchers were not qualified to answer questions or handle minor issues, as only full trained police officers were capable of such weighty matters. He then issued a directive that an officer should be sent on any call received from the public, no matter what it was. Our dispatch sergeant just smiled and told us to follow the directive. Then she was sure it wouldn't last long. As luck would have it, I was on duty that very night. And then as calls came in, and then another, and another, one person said a bright meteor had gone harmlessly over the town at a fairly low altitude. Pretty spectacular, really, but obviously as to what it was. My phone rang off the hook, most wanting to ask if anyone thought it had fallen to the earth near the town. Not really an issue for the town police, but, well, he did say no matter what it was. The radio traffic went along these lines.
Unit 28, stand by for traffic. 28. 28, this is an attempt to locate. Advise when ready to copy. 28, go. Be advised, this was a greenish glowing object that was last seen estimated altitude of 3,500 feet traveling in northwesterly direction at approximately 1,500 miles per hour. If located, stop and identify occupants. 10-9.
The patrol sergeant shouting into the microphone from his radio at home.
Did you get a call on this? Affirmative. This station has received multiple calls, and per your directive, an officer has been dispatched.
Then there was the sound of a radio being slammed to a desk. The very next morning, the issue was compounded a bit, as the responding officer also followed the captain's directive and filed an official police report, noting that the object has fled out of our jurisdiction before contact could have been made, and recommended the matter be referred to the FBI for further investigation, as he believed that the object has crossed state lines. Our captain and chief were laughing in tears, and our directive volunteered to go assist the FBI investigation, theorizing that it had gone to Vegas. The next day, a new memo was issued by the captain, stating that dispatchers were to have full discretion in handling of calls and minor matters for the public. So what do you guys think? Is this the dumbest police captain ever that looks down to call dispatchers?
Our next story asks if this is the dumbest boss ever? I worked at an office supply store for a while in my late 20s while finishing college. I worked mostly with younger college students and began training other employees and running the front end of the store. Our amazing manager took a better position elsewhere, and we were gifted a manager who was absolutely horrible. Let's call her Jean. She treated us so poorly that we went from over 20 employees to just 7 in the first couple months of her taking reign. Jean was absolutely horrible, but I stood up for myself and the few remaining employees and openly expressed my disdain for her while remaining completely professional on paper. And here come annual evaluations. Jean gives me an absolutely horrible review. Since our raises were performance-based, I did not get a raise. I refused to sign and contested my evaluation, which really pissed her off. Since we only had 7 employees left, we were desperately hiring. Within a week or two, she had hired a few people and scheduled me to train them, so I did what any rational human about to quit their crappy job for a career would do. I formally asked HR for retraining due to my perceived incompetence and made it clear that I was no longer comfortable training new hires. I simultaneously began refusing to do any work outside of my minimal assigned responsibilities and began moving really slowly. I made myself as incompetent as possible, refusing to answer customer questions via phone and forwarding all calls to her, paging her for help for stupid things, intentionally screwing up the cash register, and requesting policies for irrelevant operations. I stopped meeting quotas, and when coached, I would play dumb and pretend like I was trying my hardest. Most importantly, I started correcting customers and contractors who called her Jean and insisted her name was January. When she questioned me, I said, "I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name well, January." It infuriated her. Of course, Jean was also pissed. She had to train the new employees herself. I filed a formal complaint with HR about my lack of retraining every week until they fired me. I had another job lined up, but I filed an unemployment claim anyway, just to leave some extra work for her. Petty bonus, I never told her that my mom was the store's biggest buyer at the time and had been in the top 3 forever. Guess who took her business to Office Max? My very non-confrontational mother actually went into the store to request her account be closed, knowing that contract accounts have to be closed by the store manager. "Why are you closing your account?" "I'm Bree's mom." She got canned about a year later, and I'd like to think I was the little match that lit that fire.
Is what I did mean? My boss thinks I am her personal travel agent. So, I booked her the worst travel arrangement possible. So I'm in the military and we have this system that we use called the Defense Travel System or DTS that is used to book our airfare, hotel, rental car, etc. Everyone who travels does their own booking in this system and submits it for approval. My supervisor, who is a brand new 22-year-old, second lieutenant, didn't want to learn how to use the system and always made me book her trips for her last minute, because I was an administrator. Anyways, no matter how many times I told her she needed to do it herself and showed her how to use the system, she'd always wait until the last minute to get anything done and book her flights. Because of this, I was always having to get on the phone with the commercial travel office to book her flights last minute. Finally, I had enough and figured this girl is never going to do this herself and I will always be stuck taking care of it last minute. So I started booking her trips for her in DTS as she had wanted me to do all along. So I did. I made sure her flight left at the earliest possible time and had the longest layovers available. Seat was the middle seat in the last row for all her flights. I removed her known traveler number in the system so she wouldn't get TSA pre-check. I booked her hotel at the lowest cost hotel in the system, so usually a Motel 6 or Howard Johnson, even though Hilton's and Marriott were within the cap. And on occasion I booked her rental car at an off-site location that didn't have a shuttle to it. She'd come back from her trip upset and complaining about how bad it was. How bad the hotel was. Her seat on the plane and how she wasn't pre-check even though she's military. She never figured it out it was me. So what do you guys think? Was I mean in doing that? Thank you for watching and listening. If you have any stories to tell, please share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories.